Yes. So this is basically your second class in your prelim mentorship program, right? Now, before jumping into the topic, you should definitely know what are the trends in PYQs, right? So I think this Vikas sir might have already discussed with you, but still, it is very important that you go through these topics, right? So important crops, your an area where you have to focus on, right? Production yield areas that are there under the crops that also you have to focus on, right? Now, in the first class, we discussed more on the agriculture exports and imports, right? So this was the topic that Vikas sir might have discussed in detail here, right? Then there is MSP, sugarcane oil seeds, okay, micro irrigation, yeah, any cultivation of a unique crop, and at the same time, if it is the conditions in which the crop grows. So those topics are important from your prelim standpoint, right? Any important fertilizer, pesticide, we will discuss this. Agriculture schemes, agriculture standards if it is set. Okay. Similarly, FCI, functioning of the same. Agriculture credit, if any news is there on the same. Agriculture technology, specifically this area we will focus more on today, right? Because we are now transitioning towards digital agriculture, so we'll focus more on this topic more. Fine. Then any new agricultural practices, if it is there in your news, we'll cover that in the current affairs class, right? So these are broad parameters along which UPSC has generally tend to ask questions till date. Okay. So now based on these parameters, let us jump into the topic at hand. Okay. So the first topic here that we would cover is National Agricultural Code. Okay. So when we talk about National Agriculture Code, what is the government trying to achieve? Okay, so the primary purpose is you have to standardize everything. Okay, that is currently what is happening is only the agricultural machinery that is there. It is of a standardized pattern. Okay, but now what the government wants to do is it wants to ensure that all the practices that are going in agriculture, it has to be standardized. Be it with respect to input management, be it with respect to storage management, be it with respect to marketing management. Okay. So through the entire value chain, the government wants to ensure that there is a standardized set in which agriculture practices are managed. Okay. So that will come under agriculture, National Agriculture Code. Okay. So it covers the entire agriculture cycle here. Okay. Now, when we talk about standards here, which might be the nodal agency that you have to think of? What might be the nodal agency which will be implementing the same? It is something which is very different. Any idea? National Agriculture Code. When we talk about standardization, which agency are we talking about? Okay. So here it is actually corporations, ICAR, no. CRISAT, no. Okay, so it's a very unique nodal agency. That is why you should know it is BIS. Exactly. Okay. So now the students who have already written prelims, they know why this topic becomes important, because when we talk about any form of standardization that has been given by BIS, that is important from your UPSC prelim standpoint. Okay. So already if you have gone through PYQs, you will understand when it was tire related, when regulation was brought or standardization was brought on tires. So that year that question was asked. Okay. So along similar lines, you need to prepare the same. Okay. So the nodal agency responsible for standardized framework for agriculture practices under National Agriculture Code is BIS. Okay. So why are we trying to standardize the same? So as to ensure that farmers have a direct they can make informed decisions regarding the same. Okay, that is why is it that their agriculture is not effective. Okay, so for knowing that they have to follow certain standardization practices. Fine. Now, when we talk about coverage of National Agriculture Code, we see all these operations that are there, right? Post-harvest operations, pesticides, weedicide. Will all this be covered under National Agriculture Code? What do you think? when you talk about coverage of National Agriculture Code, standardization, will it be relevant for all these parameters? It will be relevant for all the parameters. Okay. See here, what did we discuss? It covers the entire agriculture cycle. Okay. So when we talk about post-harvest operations, the application of pesticide, weedicide, Internet of Things in agriculture, all of this comes under National Agriculture Code. The standardization will be there. Okay. Now, to implement the same, they need to do it in a first, they will try to implement the same in a small area, right? So, for that, a new initiative has been brought forth again by the nodal agency BIS. Okay, so here also it is BIS itself. So, it is known as Standardized Agriculture Demonstration Farm. Okay, so it is here that basically they will be testing new technologies in these small farms. They will be testing these new agriculture practices or new technologies and then implementing it on a Indian scale. Okay, so here the initiative is basically setting up of these farms on selected agricultural institutes in country. Okay, and for the first time it has already been done in this place. Okay, so here also it is BIS which is implementing the same. So it is just a sub part of, exactly, it's a pilot project. Okay, so certain areas, certain experimental sites are there for agriculture institutes for so that they can do experiments on the same. Right now. Fine. So the signing for it happened for the first time here. So that first keyword is also there. That is the reason we have covered the same. Fine. Chalo. Now we come to the next important topic. So agriculture standards, we have covered one topic, important one, National Agriculture Code. Okay. The next one is regarding important surveys that comes, that covers, especially surveys which focus on the agricultural household aspect. Okay. So that aspect of it you will have to cover. What will be the fill in blank of this is BIS, Akhil. Okay, it is actually BIS. Okay, BIS and the Global Pant. Pant University has signed MOU. Okay, so the nodal agency is BIS itself. Okay, fine. Okay, so the next topic we are dealing with is the trends that are there in rural household incomes. Okay, now this is important because you might have, Vikas might have already discussed with you, that is specific surveys which are brought forth by government, which gives you the trend of agricultural households, becomes important from your UPSC Prelims standpoint. Okay. Now, based on it, I've just created a question. I would like you to read the question and try to answer the same. Okay. Based on your common logic, how would you answer the same in the exam hall if such a question is asked? Okay. So try answering this. Both. Okay. Okay. What about others? I would like others also to participate. Two only, one only, two only, two only. Okay. All right. So two only. Okay. So let us see here. Now, this is the reason why this survey is important. Okay. Because this survey goes against the general trend that we think might be true. Okay. Now, let us discuss this in detail first, and then we'll again revisit the question. Fine. So here, All India Rural Financial Inclusion Survey 2021-2022. Okay. This was just released last month. Okay. This survey was released last month. Fine. So what is the major observation here in this survey? So the major observation that we observe here is currently there has been an increase in rural households in the last 5 years. Okay, so when we talk about rural households, the households which categorize themselves as agricultural households, they have increased in the last 5 years. Okay, so this goes against, or this is opposite to what we generally presume. Okay, so here what it has said is earlier it was 48%, but now 57% of the rural households in the country, they declare themselves as agricultural household. Okay, so this clarity you should have. So what now, this is a worrisome trend, because what it is saying is basically we are now going back to agriculture. Okay, so earlier you can see this in the chart also. So when earlier what used to happen, the agriculture sector share of workforce, it was drastically decreasing. Okay, but now in the last few years, the trend we have seen is a reversal of the trend. That is, more people are now relying back on workforce. Okay, so that aspect of it you have to know. Okay, now the same thing, is it because of technology? That is not given in the survey. Okay, but why is it a worrisome trend? That is something that they have said, because if this is happening, that means there is less labor for other sectors here. Okay, especially construction. Okay, so here the survey is just reporting facts, and the economists are saying we need to look into this aspect. Why is it that the agriculture sector is again, especially in rural households, they are going back to it? Is it because urban centers are not providing enough opportunities for them? Okay, so that is something that they will have to look into, but it is not given in the report per se. Fine. Now there is one more important fact that you should note here. Yes, what about this statement? The share of rural households identified as agriculture household has gone up in all, for nearly all states between the last 5 years. True. Okay, so this is actually a true statement. So this is a correct statement. So here, except for 3 or 4 states, what we observe is majorly, okay, majorly in most of the states, we see an increase in shift towards rural households. Okay, or increase in agricultural households. Okay, so except from 2, 3 states we have, apart from it, we will see yes, for especially let's say Himachal here, okay, where we see reduction. Otherwise, it is generally increasing. Okay, so that trend you should know. This survey deals with the same year. Okay, now based on it, tell me, acha. So the first statement, what do you think here? True or false? The survey reported that the share of rural households identified as agriculture household increased in the last 5 years. This is actually true. Okay, this is true. Yes. What about the second one? The second one is actually false here. Okay, it is actually, the report says the income from farm sources have increased now. They form the major chunk in agriculture income rather than non-farm sources. Okay, so it is not, so this categorization is there. 2 important points that is given in the survey. Please go through the same. Okay, so this is clear. Now we come to the next topic. The next topic is regarding area, production, and yield. Okay, now this chart that you see here, directly taken from your annual report. Okay, I've directly taken it from your annual report of Agriculture Ministry, from the Agriculture Ministry website. Okay, now when you see this chart, already I think certain facts have been discussed by Vikas sir, but I wanted you to understand it from a diagram perspective. Okay, so how would you try to analyze this chart? Okay, so let us see a UPSC question so that you understand how to interpret the same, right? So here, see, this is based on area. right? This is already a UPSC question. So the first statement says area under rice cultivation is the highest. Now, based on this chart, what do you think? Is it a true statement? Food grain, no, actually food grain is rice only, okay? Rice, cereals, okay? So food grain is all encompassing, okay? Apart from that, if you compare the rest of them, then it becomes, here it is millets also. Yes, it becomes true, right? So here, yeah, this one you just, this is actually combination of all. Okay, it is cereals, millets, pulses, all of it. Okay. Now, apart from this, the rest, if you combine, you can see, yes, the area of rice is the highest, right? Similarly, if you see, area of cotton cultivation is more than that of sugarcane. What do you think here? Of cotton cultivation more than sugarcane. The area of cotton cultivation is more than sugarcane. This is directly area given. Now, this is your cotton cultivation. This is the area. Sugarcane is this. So it is more, right? So clearly this is also correct, right? No, so depending upon it, you have to see the trend. Okay. See again, area under sugarcane cultivation has steadily decreased. What do you think here? It has steadily decreased or steadily increased. This is again false because it is steadily increasing, right? So based on this, this is how you are supposed to analyze this. Okay. So from when you see this chart, what you are supposed to know, which of the following has steadily increased or steadily decreased. Okay. This trend you should know. Again, when you compare it with different crops. Okay. Here it is area. So then in different crops, what is the difference? Okay. Where is the area more? Where is the area less? Okay, so this trend you should know from this chart. Everything you will be able to answer from this chart, right? Now, this is already a UPSC question, so we do not expect the same question to be repeated. But the same exercise you will do for production and the same exercise you will do for yield. Okay, so when I will take the test in the coming Sunday, okay, I'll put one question from the same, and I expect you to go through and understand the same observations. Okay, that is where the trend is increasing. For example, here, under which crops would you say the yield is constantly increasing or steadily increasing? Where would you say here? In the last 3 years, it is steadily increasing yield. For oilseed, yes. For rice is also there. ठीक है, coarse is there, coarse grain is there. ठीक है. Okay, if the question is where the yield has remained constant, ठीक है, pulses and wheat, ठीक है, nearly constant, right? Again, comparing it similarly here, you can compare the yield with, let's say, rice and pulses. Okay, so then where is the yield more? Okay, so that also those all observations you have to understand, you have to practice. Okay, so go through the charts, make your own observations, prepare for the same. I'll create one question on this topic in your test. Fine. Chalo, if this is clear, so that's your homework for you. Okay, state-wise also we need to understand. Not needed. When you talk about state-wise, it is only major producers. Okay, generally major producers only that is there, and that too for very specific crops. Okay, so that is the only trend. Otherwise, not needed. Fine. Chalo. If this is clear, now we come to the next very important topic, that is digital agriculture mission here. Okay. Now here, when we talk about digital agriculture mission, basically it is an umbrella scheme which is trying to implement or all digital initiatives that is going to be taken by the government. Here it comes under the ambit of digital agriculture mission here. Okay, so here three major pillars here. That is, one is agri stack, second is Krishi decision support system, and the third one is soil profile mapping. Okay, so three important aspects. Let us look into them one by one. Okay, so the first one is agri stack. So agri stack is basically here also three parameters are there. The intent is to link farmer with a specific ID so as to ensure that when he avails loans, we already have we have enough data on him to understand if he will be able to repay the loan or not. Okay, that is the intent of agri stack. Okay, so when you talk about agri stack, farmers are given a digital identity, farmer ID. Okay, now this farmer ID that he has, it will be linked with his land records. Okay, family details, all of it. Now, depending upon the crops that he grow, that will also be stored under his digital identity. Okay, that is last year, how much crops, how much worth of crops was he able to sell in the market? All of those data will help you in monetizing, or it will help you in ensuring that enough credit goes to the farmer. Okay, so that is the basic intent of agri stack. Okay, so enable efficient, faster services to farmers. Okay, so this is the first pillar of digital agriculture mission. The second one is Krishi decision support system. That means if a farmer has to take an important call on which crop to grow, then he should have a proper support system for the same. So this it ensures that yes, it will model key what insurance values could be given, what is the flood drought conditions here, what would be the groundwater water availability condition, what is the satellite data telling you about the same. Okay, so it collates all this information. Farmer get an informed decision, make an informed decision. So this is your second pillar, that is Krishi decision support system. Okay, now the third pillar is soil next of what will be the yield that will be provided from each land. Okay, so here we are talking about soil profile maps and for these many hectares of land here. Okay, so three major parameters. One is agri stack, second is Krishi decision support system, third is soil profile mapping. Okay, now what is the benefits for the same? So yes, it ensures authentication, efficiency in government services, okay, service delivery, especially for farmers. It ensures that insurance claims can be passed at a very faster rate, and it optimizes value chains also. Okay, all this data that is taken, they are directly taken from PIB. So you do not have to go look for different content. If a question is asked on digital agriculture mission, it will be asked from the same. Right now, to combine all of it, we are now creating a platform which is known as Unified Farmer Service Platform. Okay, so when we talk about Unified Farmer Service Platform, what is the intent here? It is basically, you can think of it like UPI. Okay, that is the role that UPI plays for e-payment systems. The same role will be played by Unified Farmer Service Platform for providing services to farmers under digital agriculture. Okay, so here it will act as a central agency in the agri ecosystem. It will enable registration of service providers and registration of farmer services also. And at the same time, it will provide the data exchange also between various agricultural schemes. Okay, so here one portal which will combine every, or which will have the necessary data requisites for all. Okay, so this is the basis for our digital agriculture. Okay, so here you can see it is a combination of core infrastructure, data, application, and tools that enables seamless interoperability of various public and private IT systems, especially in the agriculture sector. Okay, so very important topic please go through this aspect. This is the only detail that I could find on this. Okay, if at all at a future date you find more details on the same, please add that content also. This is a very important topic. You should know the same. Fine. So let us just revise very fast. What was digital agriculture mission? What were the three pillars here? The first pillar was, it is agri stack. Very good. Okay. What is the purpose here? Again, three parameters here, agri stack. Farmer ID is one. Second is land records. Yes, geotagging their land records. And the third is crop grown registry. Exactly. Whatever crops they have grown, yeah, registry part of it, right? The second one is decision support system. Yes. And the third one was, yeah, Krishi decision support system. The third one is soil profile. Fine. And here we have one platform which will be the main, okay, or the linking one. Okay, that is Unified Farmer Service Platform. Okay, so it will provide farmers also, their identity will be with them. Even service providers can register there. Okay, and it will be with the central agency in the agri ecosystem. Okay, so please go through this aspect. Fine. So if this is clear to you, now we jump into the next topic. The next topic is, okay, so let's see here from your UPSC standpoint, what has already come here? Biopesticides, right? So this is already a PYQ question. Okay. So we have discussed this in previous classes also. If for all students, that is, whenever we talk about the keyword bio, it becomes important from your prelim standpoint, especially for the last 5 or 6 years of paper. If you go through them, you will see a keyword bio in every paper. Okay, so whenever this topic is asked, it becomes important. Okay, so you can see biofilms. So multiple questions are asked: biopesticide, biofilm. Okay, so you have to prepare content on the same. Okay, so this year, which topic are we focusing on? We are focusing on something known as biocontrol agents. Okay, along the same lines, question framed along the same lines, right? So consider the following: fungi, bacteria, and viruses. Which of the following can be termed as biocontrol agents? You can take a guess here. 1 and 2. Fungi, bacteria. ठीक all. ठीक है. So here that clarity has to be there. That is why I brought this question for you. See, so when we talk about biocontrol agents, what are we talking about? We are talking about any form of living organism which is a direct threat to pest. Okay, it is a natural enemy of the pest that can be termed as a biocontrol agent here. Okay, so it includes living organisms. It can be parasites, predators. It can be even fungi, bacteria, or viruses. Okay, so here, yes, exactly, a broad mindset could be there. Okay, that clarity has to be there. That is why I specifically covered this topic. Okay. So when we talk about biocontrol agents, yes, they are less toxic than chemical pesticides also. Okay, so basically they are targeting directly the pests, and here it is any such organism which can control or which can hamper the natural cycle of pest. Okay, or which can create an hindrance to the natural cycle of pest. Okay, so here viruses is also part of biocontrol agent. Okay, now what are the advantages of biocontrol agent? Okay, so no harmful residues, and yes, it is beneficial for other organisms also. Okay, it targets very specific pests and it is safe for beneficial organisms also like pollinators. It does not hamper their population cycle, right? At the same time, growth of natural enemies of pests is not affected. Okay, so it is not that the entire pests are eliminated when we do the same in chemical pesticides, their natural cycle is hindered. Okay, it is environment friendly, it is cost effective, and it is an important component of integrated pest management. Okay, so this topic is very important from your theme, integrated pest management. Okay, so that is the reason you should know the same. Okay, now why is it that I am covering this topic specifically? Because it is in the news. Okay, so here in the news component, yes, Punjab Agriculture University has developed a biocontrol agent, that is Trichoderma aspergillus. Okay, now why this specific news is important? Because Punjab Agriculture University, whenever it develops the same, okay, anything that question has been asked, it is already there in your UPSC prelims. If you see, okay, can you remember the question that was asked, where this was one of the one of the options, one of the wrong options actually. Punjab Agriculture University. We have discussed this also in the previous mentorship classes. Ki whenever this topic is in news, you have to focus on the same. That is actually, if you remember, GM crops. Okay. Yeah. So the third option, if you go through it, it was, yeah, GM mustard. Okay. The third option was regarding Punjab Agriculture University. Okay. So that is the reason it was a wrong option. But you have to prepare content on the same. Okay. So here this university, yes, developed a biocontrol agent, and here the aim is, or it is targeting foot rot. Okay, it's a fungal disease which is affecting basmati rice crops. Okay, so that is the reason this name may not be important, but the basic essence of it, biocontrol agent, you have to know. Fine. Now, another very important term that you should know here is something which is there in news, which is constantly mentioned in your down to earth. This one I have taken directly from down to earth. Okay. The term is named plant pandemics. Okay. So we are basically talking about, when we talk about pandemics, we know, it is destruction at a very large scale, right? Human destruction. Here we are talking about plant pandemics, which is again on the same level, right? That is plant destruction, a very specific plant destruction on a very global scale. Okay. So when we talk about plant pandemics, we basically talk about the fearsome eight. Okay. But what you have to focus more on is the three, that is wheat blast. This one you should focus on, because currently, why this is in news, because this is a major threat for the Indian farmers now. Okay, it has already reached Bangladesh, and whenever wheat blast case is reported in India, the government takes a very pro stance and it burns up the entire crop field, entire field. Okay, so it is that big a threat, and the government also puts a ban, that is those farmers cannot grow crops for the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, so so plant pandemics is a major threat, and that is the reason you should see here, especially in Assam and Bengal, you see its threat. Okay, so whenever wheat blast, if you hear the term, that is related to wheat. Okay, and the one which is responsible for the same is this fungus. Okay, so you can read the name and find out. Okay, so that is a plant pandemic. Now in India already, which is there, this is the one, citrus. Okay, and at the same time we also have the rice blast. This is also already there in India. Okay, so both are affected, and this one is the one which is coming, so that is the reason, cover all three. Okay, so the term is plant pandemics. Fine. Now, the next term that you should know is something known as biostimulants in agriculture. Okay. Now, why are we focusing on this one? Specifically because Indian government has brought certain regulations for the same, for regulating biostimulants in agriculture. Okay. So when we talk about biostimulants, what are we saying? Basically, as the name suggests, stimulant. It is what? It is going to stimulate something. So here in agriculture, it is going to stimulate plant growth. Okay. So whenever we talk about biostimulant, you have to take a very broad stance. Okay. If at all question is asked regarding biostimulants, so any form of chemical or an organic compound which can enhance plant growth can be considered as biostimulants here. Okay. So you have to understand the same, right? So let's see here. Biostimulants, they are any form of substances or microorganisms which are applied to plants to stimulate natural process and improve plant growth. Okay, so they can be applied to seed, plant, or rhizosphere, that is the soil. Okay, so why do we apply biostimulants? The intent is to improve nutrient use efficiency, tolerance to environmental stress, and availability of nutrients in the soil. Okay, so here this is something which is now being promoted by government on a large scale. You need to know the same. Okay, so biostimulants again, they do not directly affect pest, but yeah, so they are only focusing on plant growth, increasing plant growth. Fine. Now, one question I have framed for you. Biostimulants are classified as fertilizers. What do you think? True or false? Okay. So this clarity, again, this is a very unique statement. That is the reason you should know the same. Biostimulants, they are not classified as fertilizers. It's a false statement. Okay. So here they are not classified. Okay. Please understand this aspect. Because I just told you, that is, if you are talking about any such compound which can increase plant growth, that can be termed as a biostimulant. Okay. So by default, anything which can help in plant growth cannot be termed or cannot be classified as a fertilizer. Okay. So that clarity you should have. Biostimulants are not classified as fertilizers. Okay. But they increase what? Root growth, root diameter, soil water holding capacity, all of it. Okay. They increase microbial activity also. Okay. Now what should you know here? Different categories of biostimulants. Okay, so here anything which is of an organic matter nature, okay, that is considered as a biostimulant. Okay, protein or amino acids, okay, which can enhance plant growth again or increase stress tolerance, nutrient absorption here, considered as biostimulant. Okay, even seaweed extracts, okay, liquid manure composting. Similarly, certain inorganic compounds here are there. Okay. Rhizobacteria is there. Anti-stress agents, biopolymers, all of them are categorized under biostimulants here. Okay. So please go through this aspect. Very important. Okay. Organic compounds, inorganic compounds, algae, and at the same time, even certain bacteria, fungi. And what about viruses? Can viruses be biostimulant? This is actually yes. Okay. Some form of viruses can be used as biostimulants. Okay. So this clarity you should have. That is why it has been framed in a question format, so that you will have you will focus more on the same. Okay. So some form of viruses can be used as biostimulants. Right. So please go through this aspect. Again, very important topic from your UPSC prelim standpoint, and you should prepare the content accordingly. Fine. Chalo. The next one is not specifically related to agriculture, but because it is there in current affairs, I've just covered it. And the keyword is there. The keyword that is important for us is from current affairs point of view, the keyword is first, right? So here it is India's first initiative in cultivated fish meat. Okay, so that is the reason we have covered this specifically, right? So here ICAR, Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute in Kochi, and a New Delhi-based biotech company has started to produce lab-grown fish meat. Okay, so first such initiative under the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. So we have covered the same. Okay, and when you talk about lab-grown fish meat, generally free from antibiotics, microplastics, and environmental contaminants. Just cover this from a current affairs standpoint. Fine. Chalo. If this is clear, we jump to the next topic in agriculture, that is seaweed cultivation. This is something that you might not have seen till date, right? But we are supposed to. We are focusing on this specifically because of these two news now. Okay. So when we talk about seaweed cultivation, here, yes, an institute is there, that is ICAR, Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, based in Kochi. It has been designated as a center of excellence for seaweed cultivation. Okay. Similarly, the government has also notified the guidelines for import of live seeds into India. Okay. So here, if UPSC is focusing on the same, it will be the question format will be what? With reference to seaweed cultivation in India, consider the following statements. First statement, second statement. Okay, that is seaweed cultivation is widely prevalent in the coastal areas of, let's say, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. Okay, second could be the guideline which has been mentioned by the government. Okay, so it can come in one statement format. That is why we have covered the same. Okay, so what is the guideline? Guideline basically says you have to focus or you have to ask permission from the government. All the importers of seaweed, they have to seek permission from Department of Fisheries to import high quality seed material or germplasm from abroad. Okay, so why is it that they are importing seeds from abroad? Why is it that they are not doing so in India itself, right? So currently what we have observed is the seed material of seaweeds that are there in India, their quality is degrading. Okay, so that is the specific reason why we observe, why we are trying to now import seaweeds here. Okay, so this aspect of it you have to be very clear. So I can show it here. Yeah, so the import of live seed into India, the importers, they have to submit a detailed application to Department of Fisheries, and the permission will be given by this committee, that is National Committee on Introduction of Exotic Aquatic Species into Indian waters. Okay, and this permit is given within 4 weeks. Okay, so we are trying to import seeds. What is the reason? The reason part of it is the seaweeds that we already have. Okay, the quality is degrading here, right? So when we talk about seaweed cultivation, it is basically what? Algae, which is growing in marine shallow coastal waters. Okay. Now, another way in which the question can be asked is regarding the applications part of it. Okay, that is seaweed cultivation in India is promoted on a large scale by the government of India. What could be the possible applications of the same, or which of the following industries will stand to benefit from the same? Okay, so whenever that kind of question is asked, what will be your approach, narrow or broad? In application based question, it will be by default broad. Exactly. Okay, unless and until a very redundant option is there, you will go for a broad option there. Okay, so here also when we talk about seaweed cultivation, focus on different industries that are there. Okay, so pharmaceutical, cosmetics. Okay, already cosmetics question has been asked. And if you go through PYQs, lipstick question asked. So whenever these kind of questions have already been asked, so prepare from that angle. Okay, so broad applications. Now, when we talk about seaweed cultivation in India, yes, specifically focus on, yes, it is abundant along Tamil Nadu and Gujarat coast. Okay, and around Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar Islands. Okay, so if the area specific question is asked, yes, you can focus on this. Similarly, there are other regions also, but it is abundantly found in these regions. And when we talk about seaweed cultivation, we are basically talking about red, green, or blue algae. Okay, so here you can see the three types of algae which we are trying to promote in our seaweed cultivation. I hope this is very clear. Okay, so seaweed cultivation, where it is growing, in which part of India is it growing, the application part of it, if you're trying to import the same, you have to seek permission from Department of Fisheries and a very specific committee which will review the same. Okay, National Committee on Introduction of Exotic Aquatic Species into Indian Waters. Okay, so here examiner will basically interchange this with very specific common known committee. Okay, so you have to focus on that aspect. Fine. Chalo. If this is clear to you, now we jump into another pattern, that is agriculture, sustainable agriculture, right? Now, when you talk about sustainable agriculture, you already know this kind of UPSC questions have been asked, right? How is permaculture farming different from conventional chemical farming, right? So you should know specifically what are the parameters involved here, right? So along the same lines, I've created one question for you. You can take guesses in here also. You can read the question. That is, how is natural farming different from organic farming? Okay, so this difference you should clearly know. That is the reason I've brought this question for you. Okay, the difference between natural farming and organic farming. Okay, so read the question, try to attempt it, and then we'll discuss. Okay, okay, fine. One and two, fine. Dinesh, fine. Ramada, fine. What about others? You can take a guess. Okay, there is even if it is wrong, no problem. We want students to interact. That is the only way in which you will learn. Okay, otherwise, two and three, two, one and two, two. Okay. All right. So let us see here what we mean. Okay. See, this clarity you should have. When we talk about natural farming, as the name suggests, it is basically farming done on a very natural scale, right? That means what? You're doing farming and leaving it all. Okay. You're leaving it all for nature to take over. Okay. So that form of farming is known as natural farming. Okay, whereas when you talk about organic farming, yes, definitely you are not putting in any chemicals there, but at the same time there is human intervention if you want to put in, let's say, organic fertilizers. Okay, whereas natural farming basically means everything is done as per nature would have done without human intervention. Okay, that clarity has to be there. Okay, so let us see here. Yes, natural farming. Okay. So in natural farming, no chemical fertilizer and pesticide are used. Okay. No chemical fertilizer or pesticide is used. Okay. It promotes traditional indigenous practices. And what is the intent here? The intent is to ensure there is enough carbon, or that the natural carbon cycle takes place. Okay, so here again, see the exclusion of all synthetic chemical inputs. either directly or indirectly into the soil. Okay, so please, that clarity has to be there. Natural farming, no chemical fertilizer or pesticide. Fine. Now, here the difference also you should know, natural farming and organic farming. So here it avoids all external inputs and the approach is do nothing. Okay, so the approach is do nothing here. When you talk about what is biodynamic, okay, we'll see 1 second. When you talk about organic farming, what happens here? Organic farming, it allows for certified organic inputs into the soil here. Okay, so here when we talk about follows, do nothing, minimal intervention, and one more important aspect here you should know, see here, it is done without tillage. Okay, so zero tillage, minimum tillage, you should know these aspects of it should be very clear to you. Okay, so please understand this aspect. Now, similarly here, when you talk about natural organic farming, what is happening here? Here, it involves certain form of tillage or crop rotation is there. Okay. Now, natural farming, again, it does not require formal certification, whereas here it requires certification. Okay. Here we are focusing on pest control based on natural ecosystem services. Okay. Whereas here we are talking about organic pesticides. I hope this is very clear. Okay. So avoids all external inputs, do nothing approach. Okay, and without tillage does not require formal certification. I hope this is very clear. Fine. What else? Utilizes farm resources, all of it. So now based on it, tell me what would be the answer here? Which answer would you? One and two. Okay, so the tillage aspect of it, it is very important. Okay, yes. Now coming to ऑर्गेन अच्छा हियर व्हाट अबाउट देखो अभी नेचुरल फार्मिंग में हमने क्या सीखा यू आर डूइंग नथिंग राइट वेर एज व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट बायोडायनेमिक फार्मिंग व्हाट इज हैपनिंग आर यू डूइंग समथिंग you have learned this yesterday right when you talk about biodynamic farming what is the approach मतलब आप सॉइल को क्या कर रहे हो उसको है ना यू आर यूजिंग सम फॉर्म ऑफ इंटरवेंशन राइट एग्जैक्टली ठीक है तो यहाँ पे बिल्कुल कुछ नहीं करना आपका ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन हियर ह्यूमन इंटरवेंशन इज देयर ओके सो जस्ट सी आई विल जस्ट सी ऑल्सो I'll find it out if there is much more differences and if it is there I'll post in the group fine chalo if this is clear now we come under another organization there is practice of zero नहीं minimum tillage Navya okay organic farming में ऐसा जरूरत नहीं है it's not necessary कि it has to be there okay yeah we do focus on the organic component of it but tillage नहीं होना चाहिए ऐसे नहीं बोलते हम okay that part we do not do ठीक है yes cow dung where did you see that cow dung part of it so then that becomes organic farming it comes under organic farming Mulung okay yes previous slide अच्छा ये ओके ओके हियर डेफिनेटली ओके ओके फाइन फाइन ठीक है तो यहाँ पे नहीं जीरो बजट वो डिफरेंट हो जाएगा जीरो बजट में एक्चुअली आपका द कॉस्ट ऑल्सो कम्स इन टू प्ले इकोनॉमिक कॉस्ट कम्स इन टू प्ले ओके Here, yes, extra organic aspect of it is not added. That is what is meant, Malum. Okay. Natural is fine. Yes, the chemical component of it is not there added. Fine. I hope, Malum, that is clear. Yes. So, if this is clear, we come to the next aspect of it, that is in the organic farming itself, the one which is responsible for the same, right? That is National Cooperative Organics Limited. Okay. The aim is promoting aggregation, branding, and marketing of organic products here, right? So here it's a multi-state cooperative society. So it will be registered under which act? Cooperatives Act. Okay. And its headquarters also. Okay. So where its headquarters would be in? No, it is not central. It is actually multi-state. As the name says, right? Multi-state cooperatives. So societies act. Yeah. Here headquarters will be specifically headquarters will be in, actually it's in Gujarat. Okay. So note this fact also. Fine. Similarly, one more organization is there which you should know, that is Northeastern Regional Agriculture Marketing Corporation Limited. Okay. Now here it's a regional one. Why we are focusing on this one is basically of the comparison between this and APEDA. Okay. So I think yesterday Vikas sir discussed with you regarding APEDA, right? So when he discussed with the same, so what was the major function here of APEDA? Major function he asked you to look into it. Yes, the exactly the export part of it. No? The export part of it is there. Okay. So here, this one you should know clearly, that is Northeastern Regional Agriculture Marketing Corporation. So here, this one is a PSU first. Okay. It's a PSU under Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region. Okay. Now it is focusing on marketing, but the aim is to ensure that the products of Northeast come within India. Okay, the aim is to facilitate market access primarily within India. Okay, so this clarity has to be there. It's a marketing operation. Fine. It focuses on developing and supporting the marketing of products, yes, of all sister states, Northeast states. Okay. So important one here, statutory body, here it is a PSU, focusing on marketing access within India. Okay. And from different states it is there. Fine. So if this is clear. Okay, now we come to another one. We'll do one thing. We'll take 5 minutes break. Okay. We'll take 5 minutes break and then we will resume the classes. Okay. So some more topics are are left. So we'll take 5 minutes break and then we'll resume the classes. Yeah, so take 5 minutes. Yeah, welcome back, everyone. But I could not understand the past one. See, Kamsha, when we talked about biostimulants, what were we focusing on? We said not all biostimulants could be fertilizers, right? The reason is uh, when you talk about biostimulants, we discussed, let's say virus. Virus is also a biostimulant. It can be a biostimulant, yes. But then you cannot categorize virus as a biofertilizer. We are talking about categorization. Okay. So some forms of biostimulant may have the same application as a biofertilizer, but it is not categorized under the same. Is this clear, Simon? Got it? Chalo. Okay, so now let us resume the topic back. So yes, again we are talking about sustainable agriculture, right? Practices. So we have already discussed conservation agriculture, part of UPSC PYQs. You can see the question that has been asked, right? Now, based on similar lines, I have created another question for you. Okay. Now here the topic is regenerative agriculture. Okay. So again, I would like you to take part in the question here. With reference to circumstances in Indian agriculture, the concept of regenerative agriculture assumes significance. Okay. So which of the following practices fall under regenerative agriculture? Okay. You can take a guess here. Four is there. Okay. Four will be there. Fine. 1, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Dinesh. 1, 3, 4, 5. Fine. What about others? What do you think? ऑल नहीं, ऑल तो नहीं होगा इसमें. Sure. You will have to look out for options which will definitely be wrong here. Okay. एप्लीकेशन में आप ऑल के लिए जा सकते हैं, but when specific question is asked, you have to look for the odd one out. Which one will definitely not be there here? Which option is very illogical here? Definitely 6 will not be there. Okay. So in the UPSC also, please be in lookout for the same. Okay. If you find the most illogical one, by definition, you will arrive at the correct answer. Okay. You don't have to know the entire content. Okay. For example, here, which one is the most illogical one in conservation agriculture? Which one is the most illogical one in this option? You know, when you're talking about, from the name itself, when you're talking about conservation agriculture, ठीक है, plantation crops does not make sense, right? So if you could have eliminated this, you will have got the answer. ठीक है, ठीक है, कोई issue नहीं है. Okay, we'll go here one by one. So I think most of you got the answer correct here. Okay, so here 6 is wrong here, and at the same time 2 is also wrong. Okay, this 2 are wrong. Now, why are we focusing on regenerative agriculture specifically? Okay, because last year one question was asked, right? If you remember, right? The primary concept behind 100 million farmers, right? So here also we are focusing on the theme of the same. Okay, the theme under this is regenerative agriculture. And there are certain articles regarding the same in PIB also, PIB as well as government website. Okay. So when we talk about regenerative agriculture, what are we trying to regenerate? We are trying to regenerate the organic matter basically. Okay. So we are trying to regenerate the organic matter in the soil. Okay. Now, when you talk about regenerative agriculture, specifically, you should focus on these two parameters. That is, livestock is a part of regenerative agriculture. And one more important priority, that is, you have to maintain living roots year around. They should be maintained in the soil so as to ensure there is organic matter. Okay. So this two components are major core functions of regenerative agriculture. The remaining, I think you can know, that is keep soil covered, minimize soil disturbance, and maximize crop diversity. They are all part of regenerative agriculture, right? So strategies under regenerative agriculture, yeah, little to no tillage, using cover crops, decomposing organic matter, applying biochar. The intent is carbon sequestration, right? Planting perennials so that you lower reliance on harmful fertilizers and agroforestry. Okay, all of them strategies or all of them part of regenerative agriculture, right? So key regenerative agriculture practices, yes, minimize soil disturbance, cover crop should be there, integrated livestock should be there, composting should be there, increase biodiversity. Okay, all forms of agriculture. Fine. So here, please go through this aspect here. When we talk about sustainable agriculture practices, we are covering two topics, basically natural farming and regenerative agriculture. Okay, both of them you have to go through it. Okay. Now this one I have seen even in FAO websites. Okay. So please cover this in detail. Fine. Okay. Now we come to the next one, that is farming as a service. Okay, so here a term is there which is now there in news, that is we call it as, what do you understand by the term payment for ecosystem services? Okay, a term which is highly there in news in the context of stubble burning that is happening in India, right? So tell me, what do you think might be the most logical answer here? Payment for ecosystem services. If you get such a question, what will be your answer? A, okay. Dinesh, A, fine. Mandeep, fine. One. So, take it. So you're right. Actually, this is the correct answer, right? That is incentives that you provide to farmers or landowners for managing their land in a way that enhances or to protect ecosystem services. Okay. So why are we covering this payment for ecosystem services? Yes. So you can see here the case in point, right, that we discussed. For example, here, yeah, Delhi is there being affected. I'm just giving you an example, right? Here, let's say Punjab is there. Okay. By and large, stubble burning happens. The reason is the farmers do not have the requisite monetary incentive to ensure that they take out the stubbles, right? So that is why they resort to the quickest method, that is direct burning of the stubble, right? Now, in Delhi, what happens? Monetary incentive is there, but at the same time, when stubble burning happens in Punjab, there is the people in Delhi are affected, right? So here, when we talk about payment for ecosystem services, we basically mean it's a voluntary transaction. Okay, it can so happen that the people combine here and they pay it voluntarily to the farmers in Punjab so as to ensure that the ecosystem that is there, it is maintained, so it does not impact the urban city here. Okay, so I'm just giving you an example. Okay, but the intent is the same here, right? So a payment is done or it is made to landowners or resource stewards or farmers in exchange for managing land or ecosystems in a certain way. Okay, so that is there. Okay, so here it could cover services like carbon sequestration, water purification, biodiversity conservation, soil stabilization, flood regulation, all of it. Okay, so it encourages sustainable land use practices. Okay, so the point you need to note here is it is voluntary in nature. Fine. The next term that is there in news is farming as a service model. Okay, and this is something which government of India is now promoting on a very large scale. Okay, because this is highly relevant from our Indian perspective, especially for small and marginal farmers. Okay, so when we talk about farming as a service model, what do we mean? We are basically, the intent is all the services that is needed by the farmer, especially when we talk about, an example is, let's say he needs a tractor. So earlier what used to happen, the farmer has to buy the tractor, which is a high upfront cost. Okay, so therefore all small and marginal farmers could not do the same, they could not avail the facility. Okay, so now what happens is, this is directly community owned, or someone is there who is providing it as a service itself. That is, someone is buying up the tractors, and on a rental basis or on a subscription basis, he is providing the tractor to the small and marginal farmer. Okay, so therefore the cost for the farmer is not there, it is very less, and he can pay it only when he uses that service. Okay, so here currently it is used on a very large scale in Maharashtra specifically. Okay, so it's a business model that provides farmers with agriculture services on a subscription or a pay per use basis. So it converts fixed cost into variable cost for the farmers. Okay, so all the new technologies that are there, AI, Internet of Things for agriculture, all of this can be done on a pay per use basis. Okay, so this aspect you can focus on. Okay, similarly, when you talk about, exactly, farming as a service solution, so farm management solutions it can provide. Okay, all the data aspect of it could be part of farming as a service model. Okay, similarly, equipment rentals, we have discussed this. That is, if you want to, it's better to rent a tractor rather than buying a tractor. Okay, similarly, one more component of it is here, that is access to the markets also. So if any specific person is providing that service to the farmer, then they can pay it on a use basis. Okay, so these are the three broad parameters under farming as a service model. Okay, so please go through this aspect, already being implementing in India. Fine. Okay, now we come to the next topic, that is crops. Right, now in crops, the static content I'm leaving it to you. Okay, in static content, what, for example, rice is there, wheat is there, sugarcane is there. Okay, so here what is the static content that you have to prepare? Basically the conditions in which, the ideal conditions in which these crops will grow. Okay, the condition or the soil type in which it will grow, what are the rainfall conditions it needs. Okay, so these basic static content I'm leaving that to you. I hope you will be able to prepare that yourself, right? So that aspect I'm leaving that to you, but we are focusing on certain current affairs aspect of it. Okay, so the current affairs aspect of it is, especially from sugarcane perspective, already multiple times it has been asked in UPSC. So the news is, India has been appointed as the chair of International Sugar Organization for 2024. Okay, so India is the largest consumer and second largest producer of sugar here. So this organization is there. So just go through this aspect. Okay, it is headquartered in London, and currently India has the unique distinction of being the payer of the highest cane price. Okay, so here it is remunerating farmers at a very high rate compared to global markets. Okay, and the extra sugarcane production that is happening, now we are blending it with ethanol. Okay, so it has increased from 5% to 12% in 2022-23. Okay, so just facts of the matter, just go through it. Fine. Now the next one is another term which is known as commons. Okay, so as the name suggests, it is basically all the resources which are not individually owned but community owned. So they come under commons, right? Now, from an agriculture standpoint, why this topic, I have taken this topic is because if you want to promote agroforestry in India, you need to redefine the term commons here. Okay, and there is need to promote community governance in here. Okay, so that is why this term is recurringly mentioned in down to earth. So I've covered the same, right? So when we talk about the term commons, it is basically resources that are not owned by an individual or a government, but as a community, it is shared by all. Okay, so when we talk about common resources, yes, forest is part of it, pond is part of it, grazing lands, river, sacred sites, even park and lake, they are part of commons. Okay, but there are certain intangible commons also, that is language, art, local custom, traditional knowledge. Okay, even outer space, internet, all of it are parts of global commons. Okay, so just uh, found this multiple times in articles, so I just covered the same. Fine. Okay, now coming back to the topic of agriculture, the next important topic, that is rice fortification in India. Okay, very important topic. So I have again created it in a question format so that you will be able to recollect the same, right? Where you should focus on all those facts you should be able to do, right? So read the question, tell me which statements do you think might be correct here. With reference to rice fortification in India, consider the following statements. Okay. Which statements do you think might be correct here? 2 and 3, okay. 1, 3, 5, okay. 1, 2, 3, 5, okay. 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5. ठीक है 2, 3, 5, 1 and 3. चलो 1, 2, 3. Okay. So let us see here the content part of it, and then we'll discuss the question. Okay. Yes. So here, when we talk about rice fortification, why are we covering it in news? Okay. So see here, the cabinet has extended the universal supply of fortified rice in all central government schemes under the National Food Security Act till December 2028. Okay. So it has extended the supply of fortified rice in all central government schemes. Right. So when we talk about rice fortification, what are we talking about? We are talking about basically enriching rice with three micronutrients, specifically iron, folic acid, and vitamin B12. Okay. Now, when we talk about rice fortification, yes, custom milled rice that is there, it has been replaced with fortified rice in every scheme of the government. Okay. So it has been recently achieved in March 2024. That is 100% coverage of distribution of fortified rice. Okay. This is how government is trying to address the issue of nutrition. Okay. Now, various technologies which are involved with rice fortification. One is coating, dusting, and extrusion also. All three where you add the micronutrients to the rice, and especially in extrusion, what you're doing, you're adding micronutrients to the rice flour, and then you are passing it through the extruder machine here, which again reproduces it in the rice format itself. Okay, so when you talk about the rice kernel, they have a shelf life of at least 12 months. Okay, and in fortified rice, under ministry guidelines, 10 grams of fortified rice kernels, they must be blended with 1 kg of regular rice. So it is not that all of it is fortified rice, but it is blended with regular rice. Okay, so rice fortification focusing on three basic nutrients here, micronutrients: iron, folic acid, vitamin B12. It is already part of its distribution is already there in all government schemes, and it has a minimum shelf life. Okay, so that aspect you have to know. Now, based on the knowledge that you have, which options will be correct? The first one, the process of rice fortification in India includes blending fortified rice kernels with regular rice. This statement this would be true. Exactly, right? Now, rice fortification in India aims to address protein deficiency. This is protein है कि iron है? This is iron. Okay. We are tackling iron deficiency. Okay. Fortified rice is distributed under government schemes. Yes, that is correct. Nutritional value of fortified rice degrades after a shelf life of 6 months. This is false. Okay. Yes. Custom mill rice has been replaced with fortified rice in every scheme of the government. This would be true. Okay. So here the answer is 1, 3. Fine. Fine. So please go through this aspect. Again, in news, you have to cover the same. Fine. Chalo. So here, fortification we have done. The next one is funds which are related to agriculture. Okay. So here, currently, the government has launched something known as AgriSure. Okay. It is basically an agriculture fund which is trying to support startups, especially in the agriculture sector. Okay, so it's an innovative, it's not innovative, it's just a fund. Okay, it's just a fund which is focusing on technology driven impact ventures, especially startups. Okay, the total corpus of the fund is 750 crores, and it is NABARD which is trying to manage the fund. Okay, so a wholly owned subsidiary of NABARD, that is NAB Ventures, is doing the same. So just go through this aspect, and it is focusing on startups working in agriculture. Fine. Please cover this. The next one is, both these initiatives are initiatives related to agriculture, but initiatives which are there from the World Economic Forum. Okay. Both the initiatives, that is Food Innovation Hub Global Initiative and AI for Agriculture Innovation Initiative. Okay. So when we talk about Food Innovation Hubs in Global Initiative, World Economic Forum Initiative, but the intent is to transform our food systems so as to make it net zero. Okay. Make it healthier, net zero, water positive, and equitable. Okay. Whereas when we talk about AI for Agriculture Innovation Initiative, as the name suggests, it is AI used for agriculture. Earlier, it was limited to the government of Telangana, but now it is being implemented on a large scale in UP as well as Maharashtra also. Okay, so it's again an initiative of World Economic Forum where you are trying to impact agriculture sector through implementing digital agriculture. Okay, so both these initiatives, World Economic Forum related to India, so they have been covered. Fine. Now, another important topic from your agriculture point of view, but this is very much important. This very important. Okay. That is something known as nature restoration law. It is the first continent-wide comprehensive law. So continent-wide, which it would be an initiative of what? It is trying to restore certain land and sea areas by 2030. If we are talking about a law which is being implemented continent-wide, we have discussed this from your UPSC standpoint. It is, no, no, it's an initiative of European Union. Okay, very, very important. Whenever any specific initiative is taken by European Union, you have seen the General Data Protection Regulation, right? So whenever these types of initiatives are taken, that year that question has been asked. Okay. So here it's a comprehensive law which is trying to restore not just certain areas. So it is focusing on terrestrial, coastal, freshwater, but also on forest and agricultural lands. Okay. So the target aim is to restore 20% of European Union's land and sea areas by 2030. Okay, a very, very, very important topic that you should know. Nature Restoration Law Initiative of European Union just came into being in last 2-3 months. Okay, very important from your prelim standpoint. Fine. Chalo. If this is clear, we come to the next topic, that is crop neutral incentive structure. Now, this is something which is being promoted right now. This is in context of MSP. Okay. So currently you might have seen of the debate that is going on regarding legalization of MSP, right? So under that we have seen many articles where now the agricultural economists that are there, they are actually promoting crop neutral incentive structures here. Okay. So basically I've again created it in a question format so that you can easily recollect it in the exam hall, right? So tell me, read the question, tell me which which options will you go with here? Which of the following government efforts would be categorized as crop neutral incentive structures? Okay, try solving the 1, 2. Others can also take a guess. Okay, there is no harm in taking guesses. 2, 3, 2, 3, 5. Okay. 2, 3, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay. 1, 3, 5. Okay. So let us see the context in which this term has come into the news, right? When we talk about MSP, what is the problem with MSP? It is highly serial centric. Yes, it is highly serial centric, limited. Now, because of which, what is happening? Monoculture is happening, right? So simple pattern, serial centric crops being grown. Again, a lot of issues with our Indian agriculture right now. Okay. So what the economists are now saying is focus on crop neutral incentive structure. What does it mean? That is, you're providing incentives which are not just limited to cereals, but you're providing incentives for growing any type of crop. Okay. So the aim here is if you want to change the cropping pattern in India, you have to provide crop neutral incentive structure. Okay, that is farmers should be remunerated for all types of crops that they grow. Okay, so here it has a very wider ambit which impacts all the crops that are there. Okay, so here providing subsidies for irrigation systems that can be used for any type of crop. This is true because right now what is happening? You're providing irrigation systems specifically for cereal centric crops, which is again, it is not an incentive for all crops. Okay, so this is actually correct. Okay, providing universal soil health card scheme applicable to all crops, again correct. Okay, crop insurance for all crops, again multiple type of crops, yes. Implementing fertilizer subsidies for high yielding varieties of rice. This is what? A very specific crop. So this is Not true. Okay. And encouraging crop diversification for all crops. Again, that is true. Okay. So please understand this aspect term which has been repeatedly used. Okay. So when we talk about crop neutral incentive structures, it is providing equal financial support across different type of crops. Okay. So here the aim is to offer equivalent subsidies for all the crops that are there so that it allows or it encourages farmers to diversify their production and making agriculture more sustainable. I hope this is very clear. Okay, so a term which is used in the current context, it is there in your news also, so please cover the same. Fine. Okay, now we come to the most static content that we already know, that is minimum support price, right? Now, based on it, create a question. You tell me what would be the answer here. Okay, which of the following factors are considered by CACP while recommending MSP for crops? That is, CACP is Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, which is responsible for recommending minimum support prices, right? So what factors are considered by them? 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Fine. Yes. So you're right. It is actually 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So here you can see minimum support prices for 22 mandated crops. Okay. On the recommendation of Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, they make the recommendation to Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Okay. No, actually factors while considering MSP, this is directly taken from PIB. Okay. So the factors that they consider, it is demand supply situation in domestic as well as world markets also. Right. Cost of production is there. Domestic international prices are there. Intercrop price parity is there. And a minimum of 50% margin over cost of production. Okay. So these are the factors which are considered while setting up MSPs, right? Now, what you should know here, when you talk about MSPs, 22 mandated crops, specifically, you should know all the Kharif and Rabi crops here. Okay. So if you remember the UPSC questions also regarding MSP, in the last 6 years, 7 years itself, 2 questions have been asked from MSP, right? So you have to know the content here. Okay. It is a Kharif crop if it is not. Okay. So that exactly, Niger. Okay. So you should clearly know the application part of it is also, right? So 14 Kharif crops, go through them. 6 Rabi crops, go through them. Okay. There are 2 commercial crops also, that is jute and copra. Now, one very important fact that you should know, that is MSP for Turia, that is, this is an oil seed, right? It is judged or it is fixed on the basis of MSP of rapeseed and mustard. Okay, now this is something which has been asked in competitive exams. I've seen this. Okay, so MSP not just for these crops, but for Toria, it is fixed based on MSP of rapeseed and mustard. Whereas MSP for dehusked coconut, it is based on MSP of copra. Okay, so this clarity also you should have. Fine. Finally, CACP, it's a body under Ministry of Agriculture. It came into existence in 1965 and it was initially known as Agriculture Prices Commission and later it was renamed. Okay, so initially known as what, replaced by what, these kind of questions are very common in UPSC. Okay, it is mandated to recommend minimum support prices and it gives reports for 5 groups of commodities. Okay, so its policy reports focuses on Kharif crops, Rabi crops, sugarcane, raw jute, and copra. Okay, so please go through this again. An institution important from your film standpoint. Okay, so this is the static content. I think you know all of this. So please go through this topic. Fine. All right. So with that, we come to an end of today's class. Okay. Now, 2, 3 announcements I have to make. One second.